So under the Biden administration, they kept talking about there wasn't a crisis at the border, it's not an emergency,
Right.
when we all saw it with our own eyes.
Correct.
And so because of that pressure, they decided to talk about legal pathways. You'll remember that in the press. We're going to have legal pathways. What that meant was an abuse of the parole system in which they were encouraging people overseas to apply for a parole in the U.S., which means permission to come in, not to stay, but permission to come in. And they did that about 1.5 million people. So instead of getting people in the pipeline and crossing the border illegally and then requesting asylum, they were flown into the United States to a city and town of their choice. So almost 2 million people came into the country under that scenario. And that means that they were here illegally, and it was up to this presidency now to find some of those folks, find out who they are, vet them appropriately, and then decide, most of them are going to get returned, because they ended the parole for most of those folks because it was handed out in excess of authority from the executive branch. The president doesn't have the opportunity to stroke his pen and say, you can now come into the United States. Parole, for my entire career, was a case-by-case designation, and it was supposed to be to the benefit of the government or for humanitarian reasons. That humanitarian reason is limited to life-saving treatment in a U.S. hospital. So somebody flies in from France, there's one doctor in the U.S. that can perform a procedure that saves their life, we parole that person in. They get no legal status, they go to the doc, they get healed up, they go home. There are other areas in which we want to parole people. If you're the witness against a cartel that's being prosecuted in the U.S., well, you don't have status in the U.S., so we'll parole you in so you can give your testimony in federal court, and when the case is over, we send you back home. That's what parole has been used for since the 50s.
Well,